So 25 years ago, I slept in my truck in the parking lot of the YMCA in Estes Park because I felt drawn to this conference. It was called the Star Knowledge Conference, and it was November 11th, 1996. And I'd seen this poster on the window of my store, and I just kept going up to the poster going, I gotta be there. And I asked if they needed volunteers, and they said yes, but we have no more hotel rooms available. And so I slept in my truck in Estes Park. It was 40 below, blowing about 60 miles an hour. I thought I was gonna fly. And I kept going to the trees going, why am I here? I don't understand. I don't know channeling and toning, and I don't know who the Pleiadians are, and I don't know any of this. And then on November 11th at 11:11, I went to this lecture, and this man named Standing Elk was sharing the universal and spiritual laws of Creator, and it spoke to me. And it was the messages from the elk and these, the bear and the eagle, and it just, I knew that was I had to be part of that. So I gave him my business card, and I said, I'd love if you'd do a workshop at my store. And synchronistically, I happened to be in San Diego when the next conference was happening, and we got invited to Sundance on the Yankton Sioux Reservation that summer. And then I went to Savory, Wyoming after that, and I'll tell part of that story in a minute. That's where the symbols were brought to him. And I started traveling, and I started helping with the teachings, and I was the grounder, and I started bringing in the spirits, the messages from the spirits, the star people, and the messengers from the book, from the symbols. So everything is synchronicity. If you get an intuitive hit to go somewhere, like here, go, follow it. We have to follow our hearts. We have to follow the synchronicity because Spirit guides us exactly where we need to be. And it doesn't matter who you are and what your background is, because it's your spirit, it's your soul. So there are thousands of symbols, but right now on this free will planet, our free will is in jeopardy. So today I felt that it was important to speak about free will, because synchronistically free will is shifted into its original form, and we need to start using it and activating it and walking with it. So this is the evolution of free will, part of the universal and spiritual laws of Creator. This is Chief Golden Light Eagle. When I met him, he was Standing Elk. And on February 11th in 1995, he was on a vision quest on his reservation, and the star people came to him for the first time. And back then, there were no star songs. There was no star altar. It was all new. It was known by a lot of the elders, but it wasn't shared. So he had to bring through the star song from Spirit. He had to create the star altar. And he walked a really difficult walk because a lot of people didn't like what he was doing. They didn't want everyone to know about the star knowledge. They wanted to keep it sacred. And he took a big risk, and he's got big shoes to fill. So he dropped his robe on July 19th of last year. And so for this past year, I've been trying to fill those shoes and trying to understand where we need to go now, because we still are part of the star altar, but he's not here. And so all the teachings that we're learning now are coming from our hearts and coming from ceremony. So we're on a new road. We're calling it Star Knowledge now because it's new. And so this is our spiritual leader. And you may see him here. He's been here before, so in spirit, he's a big part of this. So a lot of people want to know why these symbols came to us at this time. And I had a Facebook friend in Spain, and one day he sent me an email and he said, hey, I found this in a folder of songs, and I think this is part of the star knowledge. What do you think? And I said, yeah, it's what we've been looking for. So what I'm saying is the universe is always sending us messages. Pay attention to the songs, the symbols, the signs, master numbers, messages from others, like the guy in Spain that sent me this information, and messages from the spirit world. Sometimes I wake up in the morning with a song in my head, and I don't know what it means, but I'll go look at the lyrics. And the lyrics are exactly what I needed to hear that day. So we have to keep listening, keep our hearts and our minds open. So all the information I'm sharing with you has come through synchronistic events. This information, as I said, was sent to me by a friend in Spain. He found it in a file of songs he wrote in the late 1990s. It was given to him by a man named Merlin, because of course the man's name was Merlin. And he just happened to be at a workshop with Silver Star in the 1990s and said, hey, maybe you want to read this, you know? And so it showed up last year, and I went, oh my God, this is what we needed to know, why these symbols came to us. So James was talking yesterday about the history of Earth, and he talked about the Orion Wars. And during the Orion Wars, all of the humanoid star beings came to Earth. They were protecting them, and so different star races went to different planets. So part of the reason why we are this mixture of Pleiadian and Sirian and all of these different star races, humanoid star races, is because they were here on Earth to be safe during those times. So the Orion Wars, were part of the reason why this prime frequency existed. I'm going to read it to you because it's really little. We've all been wondering what the 1111 ceremonies and teachings are. Now we know more. 1111 is the prime frequency that blesses Earth and all her relations through our twin planet, the morning star. Long ago, the Kamaras, an ancient society of Venusian masters, accepted the task of raising Earth from apocryphal darkness into the star of freedom. In league with the masters of the Pleiades, Bodhisattvas of Andromeda, and the galactic presence of the whirling rainbow, the Kamaras instituted a heart-resonating frequency of universal and spiritual law to activate Mother Earth's destiny. This star path from galactic center through Andromeda, through Pleiades, through Venus unto Earth was thus established as the Christ path by Emmanuel in the inception of Pisces. With 2,000 years of evolution of heart through the shepherd of love and blue road of spirit, Earth's children are finally ready to receive the galactic laws of Creator that govern all that is. So these star laws, these symbols, are for us to use during this time, especially free will, but there are symbols for healing. There are symbols for all walks of life, all aspects of our life. So we have a book called The Symbols over there, and it talks about how they're used and why they're here. Each symbol has messengers. So the symbols came to Earth and were found in an I-beam from a ship that crashed in Roswell in 1947. Now, they're pieces. The ship was not intact. So this I-beam is actually upside down. And the symbol is actually, so if you flip it, and I'll show you a picture of it flipped, that's how they were supposed to be. So they were on all of the ships. And there is question whether they crashed on purpose or not. Maybe the symbols were supposed to come to us, so there was a crash so that we would find them. Or maybe they, I don't know. I haven't found that answer yet. Maybe some of you know, and if you do, then please share. But so they looked at these symbols and they said, well, it kind of looks like the Greek and the Roman alphabet. So we're going to try to put it together like that. And when they use the Greek alphabet, the way it is actually spelled freedom. So it's kind of interesting that it speaks freedom in many languages. And I think that's part of the intention is, the collective consciousness that agreed to send the symbols to Earth for us, wanted it to be in ways that all of us would understand, because we speak many different languages and we have different understandings. So those are the I-beams. And then years later, somebody created those bars for Eagle. But when so in 1995, when he was on the Hill, the Star people came to him, and then in Savory, Wyoming, the next August, the Orion people came to him, and they had 2 bars. So it was the universal, that's universal law, and then there was another bar that was the spiritual laws. And he could hear them speaking, but they weren't speaking. Their mouths didn't move. And so he kind of had a hard time understanding at that time, because he was so shocked to have them appear to him like that. So he, later on, he found the symbols through a UFO conference, a MUFON conference, and he decided to ask his grandson on the reservation to take it into ceremony and see what he could find out about it. So this is the first part of the first interpretation, and it was done in Sweat Lodge. It says, this design is one of the 28 designs taken from a crash disk at Roswell, New Mexico in July of 1947. Although there is much controversy in the UFO phenomenon, the fact remains that these designs and symbols have remained a mystery from the UFO community for the last 49 years. This will be the first translation of the designs as interpreted by the spiritual advisors from the Dakota Nation. This specific design in its horizontal position represents the universal law of free will. No man shall control another's physical, mental, emotional, sexual, or spiritual essence. The repercussions of this violation results in decades and centuries of misplaced balance that affects the harmony of the universe, and it generates reincarnated souls that need to correct karma, which is needed for the continued existence of humankind. All philosophical and spiritual people may have many translations according to their mental growth, but the result of each message will remain the same. So he started going into ceremony with these symbols and created the first Star Knowledge Conference in Wagner, South Dakota in 1996. And people from the UFO community, almost everybody was there, from MUFON, from UFO, from all of these different communities. And during that time, he shared about the symbols, and he asked for help. He said, we need help in getting these interpreted and understanding the symbols better. So at that time, there was a call for help, and there were others that heard him. So there was a woman that he was with at that time, and she met a woman named Marilyn Carlson. And Marilyn Carlson channeled Yellow Hand. And Yellow Hand is the Christ consciousness. So Joan asked questions. She said, the first question we have is about the universal symbol of free will. What does the symbol of free will mean, and how was it created? And Yellow Hand said, well, dear heart, it means everything in the way of finding your way home to the Creator. It was a gift to you from the Creator. You have the freedom of choice. To have the freedom of choice was of the utmost importance for each of you to understand who you are. For if you were ruled, as it were, or controlled by the law of non-free will, you would be in the presence of the only thought of those ones who wish to have control, eh? Father, Mother, God is a loving creator, and it would not be of the loving aspect of your being for you to learn what really love is if you were not gifted with free will. Free will is an innate part of you. You will find it within your own psychic self, that if anyone tries to control you in any way, you resist it, eh? So free will is important in the teaching of you and understanding what love is and what acceptance and non-judgment is, These, as you see, we have a wonderful being who has joined us here. All beings throughout the universe and universes should respect this free will, but not all do. Just as you have in your humanness those who do not respect the free will, it is so in your universes as well. That is not to say that this law does not apply to them, for it does. It is a law that was created for all beings to live and to serve each other by, and to serve the Creator by. For in essence, you are not choosing to be loving and allowing the one to have the free will. You are not choosing love. So Creator brought free will to us, and we are a free will planet. But as you know, the free will has been hijacked. So today we're going to be sharing this symbol and how to use it. And we ask that you share it and use it. Start activating it. Activate it over your food. Activate it in any way that you're guided to. And we're going to see ripples and ripples and ripples. And free will is going to be anchored back on this planet. And if it's one thing that we can do, we have the power to do it. So this is Standing Elk, as he was known then at the first conference. And as I said, he asked for assistance. So a couple, Pathfinder and Silver Star, came forward, and Pathfinder became the channel for the Earth Guardians, the Ascended Masters, and the Star Nations that brought messages for each symbol. And Silver Star was the scribe. So they would use a tape recorder and she would write, and that's how the book that we have was created. So the universal and spiritual laws of Creator are called the Wicahpi Wicohan, which is the way of the Earth Star. The universal law is feminine and the spiritual law is masculine. And each symbol has 3 messengers: an Earth Guardian, a Star Nation Guardian, and an Ascended Master. And the lecture on the universal and spiritual laws, it's about a 3-hour lecture. So I'm just giving you a tiny little bit of this information. And I've been learning about it for 25 years, and I'm still learning. There's so much out there. So we're happy to share. We all have a different perspective, and if you start learning about this, you can share in your own way. We're all here to teach. So the Earth Guardian for the universal law of free will is Tunkashala, the grandfathers, and they protect personal freedom. The Star Messenger is Arcturus, and as you know, in the circle, Arcturus is here too. It invokes the Freedom Ray. And the Ascended Master is Kuan Yin, and as you know, Kuan Yin's here too. So I think it's kind of fitting that we're talking about free will at ECETI, because I think ECETI is a huge part of our free will on this planet. So the original symbol looks like a V with a parallel line next to it. And that was the original, the blue. And then as the symbols book was created, the colors changed. So what happened was when the symbol came to Earth, it was shut down. So it became a V. And what we found out, so after Golden Eagle passed, I was told that he had a lot of stuff in a barn in Iowa, and that the barn had water damage, and raccoons and stuff had gotten in there, and this man told me, you need to go put your eyes on it and see what's there and see if anything needs to be salvaged. So in September of last year, I went and filled my truck with the contents of that barn, and a lot of it was water damaged. There was so much information that was on the ground, just soaking wet, full of mud. And I spent since then to now, and I'm still working on it, trying to clean up the DVDs, trying to get the raccoon pheromones off of everything, and trying to salvage the information that was in there. And when I did, I found these original tapes that were used for the interpretation of these symbols, and I didn't have a tape player. So I found an MP3, cassette to MP3, and I started listening to these tapes, and I realized that there was more information about free will that we didn't know about. It wasn't in any of the books. And when I started asking people that had been there originally, they had forgotten. So what Yellow Hand said is, that symbol was changed, dear heart, and should have been 3 straight lines, but it was changed and inverted upside down, and then even again it was changed to be your A in the alphabet with it crossed. It was done to create confusion of mankind. Those who would not align their will to the will of Creator have done a pretty good job of creating confusion of mankind and hiding the symbols, as it were, as they should be. Now, as you know, most symbols on this planet have been inverted, and they've been flipped, and they've been changed. So we're learning to flip them back, to use them the right way. So Joan asked Yellow Hand, does it represent Mother, Father, Earth? And Yellow Hand said yes, or body, mind, and spirit. So your interpretation of the symbol is going to be your personal interpretation, however you resonate. Yellow Hand says 3, it is the number 3. Joan asks, who changed it? And Yellow Hand says, Those who were not of the light changed it into the V millions of years ago. It should be presented as both, because it is integrated into the cellular memory of the physical body as both. It should be presented as both. So I heard those words, and I started asking people. I said, do you remember that the symbol is supposed to be 2? And they said, no. And I said, do you know that it was changed and inverted? And they said, no. And I said, okay, we need to start figuring this out. And so I had a vision of the symbol in my head, but I'm not a graphic artist. And I kept asking people, can you help me make the symbol? And it wasn't happening. It wasn't happening. And I would go to people and they couldn't do it. So as always, on a new moon, I talked to a Sundance sister of mine in France, and in 4 minutes, she had the symbol created. So when it's supposed to be, it will be. So this is the symbol is changed as I read. And then what Joan asked is, then did each symbol that we have one previous symbol to that? Not all, dear heart. Some are the original ones, but the one that the law of free will was the one that created the greatest dissension among those. So we may be shifting the symbols. And the star people have been speaking to me since 2021. So I feel like we're going to be going into ceremony and unlocking the symbols in other ways. But this is, on that new moon, that's how the symbol came out. So this is the original free will, as it was created by Creator millions of years ago. Very simple, 3 parallel lines. But if you read energy, it's really strong. And I've printed it out as stickers, and come and feel it. It's amazing. I ended up printing it out and putting it on the north and the south wall of my house. And I put it on my altar, and it shifted everything in my house. And everything just went calm, and the spirits started coming out. And we have so much more interaction now with the symbol activated. So we've got ways to use it, but I would say if you're guided to use it in a different way, then follow your heart. So during this time, there was a ceremony that came through. It was called the Ceremony of the Stars. And let me get the... So Many Faces is he's a clown, but he's a really strong energy. He's the one that brought through the messages about the Ceremony of the Stars. So the Ceremony of the Stars, as Golden Eagle explained it to me, is the bridge between our world and the native world. And the Ceremony of the Stars is the purification for Vision Quest, for going on the hill. And there are 4 days of purification and preparation. So this is just one part of it, and this is the second door, which is, so it's called the 4 Doors of Metatron, and this is the second door, which is the door of the mind. So there's the heart, the mind, the spirit, the body. And this door of the mind, the universal law of free will, is the gate of wisdom. And it draws forth the energy of sacred choice. So it gives us our free will back. So as I said, I'm just giving you a little bit of information because there is so much information out there. But what was told to us is in this ceremony of the stars is how to use the symbols, to wear them, to use them. And so I'm explaining to you today how to use the free will symbol. And when I started reading it again, because every time I read that book, I learn something new. There's so much information in it. After 25 years, I feel like I'm just maybe getting to the first little bit of it. But carry this symbol as a shield of freedom. And so it said, make a button. And I made stickers. But what was really funny is that after I created this PowerPoint, the next day I got an email that was a special on buttons. So I ordered buttons, And it says make a button like in the 1960s, how everybody wore, their smiley faces and their peace signs and everything. So why not? And then Many Faces says embroider on cloth for a shirt or a bag. So you would embroider on cloth and then you would put it on a shirt or a bag. And the way I look at it is, maybe a denim jacket and put it on the back and walk around and wear it, or, however you feel. But it says the universal law of free will provide a clear space for you to choose in every moment the path that you wish to take. So it gives us the opportunity to walk our path without being blocked, without being prevented from being in our, we need to follow our heart. So it also says that there's a healing ceremony with the universal law of free will. And the one who channeled the information and also the scribe, they were Reiki masters. So I feel like this information is kind of as you would use symbols in Reiki or other healing modalities, you would activate this symbol over you or over your client. So the healer will activate the free will symbol. You hold hands with the person seeking clarity, so your client. Project the energy and the symbol through the heart and mind of client, and it will result in grounding and calming of the mind. So it's running that energy, the frequency of free will, to your client and to yourself. And as I said, I learn something new every time I read. So also Many Faces said the Arcturians say free will symbol carries frequency of freedom. They've used free will symbol to call forth energy of freedom and mercy. So our star family uses these universal and spiritual laws as well for their collective consciousness and for their individual use. So Many Faces says a quilt on the wall. So you could create a quilt, or you could draw it, you could paint it, you can embroider it, put the free will symbol on it. And then what I read, which I thought was very interesting, is bury the symbol in earth beneath the doorstep. So create a bundle with free will in it. So you could create a bundle with red cloth and you could put sage, cedar, the medicines in it, and bury the bundle in 4 directions of the healing center. So maybe like a prayer tie or just a little bundle. And it'll ground the energy of freedom within that space. And I know most of you are healers and you have your healing centers and you have your sacred places, your altars. And this helps us to be grounded and protected. So if you're feeling that there's opposition or you feel like you're getting interference, try it. Put that free will in that space. You can try it on the north. I have energy that runs through the north and the south of my house. So activating it on those walls and actually printing it out and putting it on the walls helps me to not have all of the energy coming from the north and that energy grid. It just kind of clears it as it comes in the house, and it makes a huge difference. Universal law of free will grants a shield of personal protection, grants the gifts of healing clarity through the freedom of mind, grants the gifts of sacred space that is dedicated into the freedom flame of mercy, compassion, and grace. The symbol placed beneath or around a healing center will create in the energies of the masters of 7 rays. So what this is saying is that these are potentially the masters that will come in when you activate the symbol. And we're all pretty familiar with them. They're here and they're in most of our healing spaces. So the masters of the 7 rays are Kuan Yin, Emmanuel. So Emmanuel, Christ consciousness, who walks with the Christ flame. Archangel Raphael, who is the archangel of healing. Archaea is holy amethyst. Archangels of the 7th ray, and the Elohim beings from Arcturus. So when I walked that intention circle, all those places on that wheel are part of this work. And I said, you're all here? Thank you. So walk that wheel and see how you connect. And they're all here. So reconnect if you haven't connected, and just ask them to help you with free will. They will. So I I got tired of watching all these YouTube videos and, you know, everybody's like, this is what's gonna happen and this is how it's gonna happen. And I was like, why are we looking outside for all of this information when we can look inside? You know, go into ceremony and ask our guides, angels, the grandmothers, spirit helpers, what's going on. So I started doing that, and I would wake up at 5:55 every morning because as Chief Golden Light Eagle said, 5:55 is that master time. It's that magic time when the star people will come to us, either 5:55 in the morning or 5:55 p.m. So I started going into ceremony, and as I was clearing the room, I would get an announcement of who was coming in, and it'd be the grandmothers, it'd be the grandmothers from the stars, it would be the whales and the dolphins, it would be, you know, star people. It was just amazing. I never knew who was coming in, and it was just so much fun. And so I would write with a pen, and I'd bring the information through, and then I would get on my computer and I would transcribe it. So the website's called knowledgefromthestars.com, and on that page, or on that website, is all of the information that I brought in, and I'm still bringing it in. So it's been over 2 years, and the messages are beautiful. And sometimes they'll bring a personal message, and then they start with Dear Children of Earth. So I ask that you check it out and share it, because it's not for me, it's for all of us. And it just gives us a sense of peace and hope, and sometimes direction on where we're supposed to go if we're not sure how to get there. Knowledge from the starknowledge.now is a site that we just created again on a new moon, because the star knowledge of old is evolving. As I said, that free will symbol's evolved. So we created a site to share what's coming through now, because it seems like every lunar cycle we learn something new. And then we created a photo share. It's called Photo Share knowledgefromthestars.com. And you can share your cloud pictures and your tree pictures and your symbols. And it's a place for us all to share memes, a place for us to share, because we all have these personal experiences, but we're not putting them out there, or maybe we're afraid to put them out there. So this is a fun place to say, you know, hey, check out the photo share. I just put up a picture. I'll be putting up the pictures that it came through at ECETI. I've had amazing experiences taking pictures here, and we're going to be sharing them on there. I went around that intention circle, and when I got to the Bigfoot point, I always ask permission to take a picture, and when I did, the sun was shining, so I took a picture and I couldn't really see what it looked like. And then when I came in here, it looks like rays of sun, but it looks like a teepee. And I showed it to James, and I said, James, check this out. And he said, that's where the teepee used to be here, and the teepee poles are still there. So, you know, Spirit's talking to us in so many ways, and we need to listen. And it may seem weird. You might be like, God, I get the song in my head and I can't get it out. Well, go print out the lyrics or check out the lyrics. And usually those lyrics are a message for us for that day, you know, and we're missing out if we don't check it out. You know, Spirit will, if we don't hear it, if we don't get it, Spirit's going to bring it in a different way. They're like, okay, we tried a song and that didn't work, so all right, we're going to bring you a movie. And we watch the movie and we go, oh, I didn't get anything out of that. And they're all like, oh, God. Okay, we're gonna tell Bob to come over and bring you a message. And if you don't get that message from Bob, that's when I say you get the 2x4. And sometimes you literally get a knock on the head. I mean, I've hit my head so many times because Spirit was like, you're not listening, you need to listen. And so I would literally hit my head, and then I'd go, oh, okay, I gotta listen. I gotta go back and figure this out. So, you know, the universe is amazing, but they, you know, the grandmothers especially get kind of impatient with us, and they're like, you know, you're not listening. And so they'll bring somebody to us, and they'll be like, the grandmothers say you're not listening. And it's like, I know, I should be listening. So I'm gonna put that symbol back up for you guys, just so you can look at it again. So that is in its original form. And what is so interesting is that it got shut down. And that's powerful in its own way. I mean, we've been working with this symbol for 25 years, and it's phenomenal. But then when you, oops. Where'd you go? It's so simple, and it's so amazing. So work with it. Ask us questions. Jen and Brian have been walking with these symbols. Mary's been walking with these symbols. You know, we're still learning. We all seem to resonate with different aspects or different symbols sometimes. And so it's, you know, we're all learning different things in a different way, but it's all, it's in our DNA, it's our encoding. And when you start working with the symbols, you start going, wow, you know, that makes sense. So as I said, this is just a tiny, tiny little bit of information about these universal and spiritual laws. And there's so much more to learn. And we're going to be getting downloads, and we're going to be getting visions, and we're going to be getting messages. And it's time to share those. Even if you think it's unimportant to you, it may be really important to somebody else. So it's time for us to start working together with these. So I want to share how to activate. It's very simple. So with this, it's 3 parallel lines. And you circle it clockwise. And what I do, sometimes I'll do it 3 times, and I feel like I'm just really anchoring it in. For me, 3 is really important. But do it over your food, do it over your water, do it over your garden, do it over a place so you know where there's been an accident or something that's happened there, and you just, it doesn't feel right, but you want to change that energy. You know, see what happens. Because there's no wrong way, you know. We're so worried to do things that, you know, maybe we're going to do it wrong. Well, there is no wrong way if we use our heart. No. So I'm still unlocking all of this information. I have hundreds of videos that I'm trying to work with, and I'm learning all this technology, and I'm very right-brained. I'm not a left-brainer. I've had to learn how to code. I've had to learn how to build websites. I've had to learn how to create videos. And Eagle laughs at me because I don't know what I'm doing, but it just, you know, and I've got a lot of help behind me, and it just happens. And then I have to go backwards and figure out what I did because I'm going to have to do it again. So I'm just unlocking pieces of the puzzle, and the spirits are helping us. But start with free will, and I really feel like it's an amazing place to start. So I'm going to share, I wanted to share a video. There are hundreds of videos, and I'm putting them out on Rumble right now because I'm concerned that if Facebook or YouTube goes down, that we're going to lose his legacy. So I've learned to download all these videos, and I'm uploading them. And so this video that I'm going to share is from a woman named Grandmother Chandra. And when she was 15, she came to see Chief Golden Light Eagle, who was Standing Elk at that time. And he called her grandmother even at 15 because he knew that she had the knowledge of the universe. She doesn't speak. She is what we would call handicapped in this world, but she is a multidimensional being. And not being able to speak doesn't stop her. She's incredible. So she brought in information about the whales. And what we learned about the whales is that the whales dive down to 30,000 feet, and they pick up the codes that are part of this planet and part of our DNA. And they go up to the surface and they breach. And when they breach, those codes go into those water vapors, into the atmosphere, and they go up to the sun. The sun, the great central sun, it's where we call heaven. And the sun is where our spirit family is after they drop the robe and journey on. So it goes to the sun. And then when we pray and when we ask for assistance, our spirit family and the sun sends those codes back. And the sun dancers are dancing with the sun and bringing those codes in. So when they're dancing, they'll get a download. And sometimes it's so strong it'll knock them to the ground. And they go to the ground and they'll draw that symbol in the grass, and then they activate it with a circle. And there's a scribe who follows that and writes that symbol down on a book. and then that's taken into ceremony. Sometimes, there's thousands of symbols, so not all of it has been taken into ceremony. But Golden Eagle took those symbols from Sundance and worked with it. And he found that if you spin those symbols 16 times, he said there are 16 marriages to create us. So 16 life cycles, or I see it as a life cycle of our evolution to create who we are now, and we're kind of the universal human. So these 16, spinning them 16 times is creating those symbols. So I'm going to share the message from the whales and Grandma Chandra. And Grandma Chandra is who we go to get the information that the information of the universe. She's an amazing being. You can find her at grandmachandra.com. So we're going to play this for you guys.
Grandmother Chandra says, starting with the harmonic convergence in the late 1980s, the messages of the codes of the biblical Ark of the Covenant are being revealed to humanity on the equinoxes, solstices, and other important dates during the years. Star beings, or light workers, indigos, crystals, ascended masters, angelics, teachers, and guides have all been on or around the planet since life began millions of years ago. The codes of the Ark of the Covenant have been known through Lemurian, Atlantean, Egyptian, American, Persian, Afghan, Greek, Hindu, Hebrew, Muslim, North African, Native Australians, and King Arthur legends, as well as the legends of the priestly order of Melchizedek. These people are remnants of the great civilizations of Lemuria and Atlantis, and from stars in the far galaxy. They have brought much spiritual progress to the planet, especially in the last 20 years, preparing the way to receive such information. Grandmother continues, I am a 12th dimensional indigo star being. The information to us was stepped up when we reached the year 2000, and the codes of the Ark of the Covenant will continue to be revealed to those in a conscious state for years to come. Many of these star beings, Grandmother says, have arrived here as star gate openers. A star gate is a portal, a doorway, an entry into other dimensions. I began opening stargates in March in Hawaii with Jimmy Twyman in order to allow those who have contracted to assist us from the other dimensions to be present. The biggest stargate there was the one that connected the two volcanoes on the island of Kona with a stargate in the ocean that brought up the ancient civilization of Lemuria. The whale on this soundbite is telling us about the connection between the codes of the Ark of the Covenant and our ability to help ourselves and the planet. When the codes of the Ark of the Covenant are activated, they produce a scalar wave in another dimension. The codes are based on sacred geometry and work in conjunction with the mission of the cosmic Christ at a 13th dimensional level. The mission of the cosmic Christ was and is to protect humanity from its own mistakes. But the mission was not successful when the Christ was in physical form on the earth plane. That is why the Christ ascended. There is reference to a second coming of Christ that will take us into the golden age of peace and abundance. That time is now. Chief Golden Eagle, also known as Black Spotted Horse of the Yankton Sioux, founder of the Star Knowledge Conferences, is from the 13th golden color dimension. I am from the 12th silver color dimension. Because of this, the codes of the Ark of the Covenant are in his and my DNA template, and we can travel through all of the dimensions and activate these codes.
So first thing in the morning, as the sun's coming up, go out, take off your glasses, and spend 10 minutes in the sun, looking at the sun. Your eyes won't get hurt. That's a misconception. They don't want us to connect to the sun and those codes. And the sun will bring you the messages you need and the codes you need. And then while you're at it, send love around the world. And doing that, it's going to make this world a lot better place. So does anybody have any questions? Huh?
He's going to grab a mic stand here in just a sec. That was amazing, Lelie. Thank you so much.
A little bit of an activation first thing in the morning. I know I got activated. I don't know about anybody else.
That was brilliant. Thank you so much for holding all that. I'm going to share what I saw as you were talking about when the V with the line, and you said that they were separated into 3 lines. And between the screen and here, I saw this hand do the lines, and they were straight up and down like that, and the hand twisted 1/4 turn, that right there, and then put its finger across the word freedom and wrote transformation.
So if it's turned, that's spiritual law of freedom of man. So you can actually, these symbols can be used as my understanding is 1, 2, 4, and 16 times. So if you activate them or write them 4 times, kind of like the Arizona sun, that's the vortex of free will. And so Jen brought some corn today, and we're going to be giving you the opportunity to take the corn and either draw the symbol or draw the vortex. And wherever you feel is needed, or you can take it home and use it there. But we've been using the corn because, as you know, our food, and especially the corn, is being genetically modified, and so it's a way for us to shift our food into a healthier and a better option.
Hi.
Good morning.
Good morning. I'm Christina. And pronounce your name again. It's
Lelie.
Lelie. Okay.
So
Lelie.
my real name is Elizabeth, and my nickname is Lelie.
Okay.
And when
Lelie.
I first went to the reservation, Golden Eagle's brother Sherwin came up to me and he said, "Do you know what your name means?" And I said, "No." And he said, "When women feel strongly in their heart, they Lelie." So you might hear us go, "Lelie, Lelie, Lelie." So I love that because I feel
Beautiful.
strongly in my heart.
Good.
So I'm a Lelie.
Yeah. So I live in Boulder. I'm very close to you. I'll look you up and do that. But I had a question about activating this symbol. You said you circle it 3 times?
I do 3. For generally, you can just do once. So you can do with your hand, your palm,
Okay.
or your finger.
Okay, so you're just making this in the
So
air
I'm
sometimes.
drawing it in the air,
Okay.
and then I'm doing a clockwise
Then
circle.
clockwise. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That's
For whatever reason, I like the Trinity, so I do it 3 times.
Okay.
And things come to me in 3s.
Okay, and if you live in a condo and you don't have a place to bury the symbol in front of your door, what about just putting the symbols on the wall, like at the entrance or on the 4
So I have
sides?
an energy line that runs from the north to the south of my property.
Mhm.
So I put it on the north wall and the south wall. If your
Okay.
energy runs east-west, you can do that. I didn't really know. intuitively did that,
Yeah,
and
that's
it
what I was
felt
thinking.
so good. So if you can't bury it, you can print it out, you can draw it, you can put it on canvas,
Yeah.
any way you feel, but it's going to shift the energy.
Yeah, that's what I thought, something
Yeah.
like that. I'll just do it intuitively.
Yes, yes.
Thank you so much. That's
Sure.
fun.
Hi, I
Good
just
morning.
good morning. I wanted to know if you knew where on the Big Island that ceremony took place that you mentioned.
The only thing that I remember was that when Grandma Chandra went to Hawaii, it was on the Big Island, but they went out on the whale boats because she wanted to meet the kahuna, the kahuna of the island. And the kahuna ended up being a whale.
Oh.
And so when they went on this whale boat, this huge whale came, and the captain of the boat had never seen this whale before. So the kahuna was actually a whale.
Oh, so it was on the water.
It was on the water, yeah.
An interesting synchronicity. Last weekend, it was quiet here at the ranch, so I went whale watching in the Oregon coast. It's called Depot Bay, and there was gray whales out there, and I saw 7 gray whales.
Yeah,
That's all.
that's awesome.
Hi, you know, when you were giving your talk, right after you did the symbol, I started hearing a drum. I don't know if anybody else heard a drum, but I kept hearing a drum, and I started tapping it out on my coffee cup. But yeah, I heard a drum. And the other thing is, everything you presented here, I was like, I'm a part of the St. Germain Foundation, and almost all of that information we talk about too, but your connection and the way you put it all together just really, I was like, oh yeah, I know that stuff. That's
Well, you know,
Wow.
information comes from a collective consciousness, and it
Yeah.
comes in a way that we're going to understand. So it may be in 17 languages, it may be in 17 different colors or ways, because we're going to resonate with it in a different way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
We're all speaking the same message.
I really like how it really connected it, how to work it, how to,
I had a lot of help
wow.
from the spirit world. I don't, the problem I have is it's all done intuitively, and then I have to figure out how I did it, because I just kind of let them do it.
Yeah, that's awesome work. Thanks.
Thank
Thanks for
you.
doing it.
Can I take this out? Because I'm like buzzing. I got more to share.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention, I was talking to a friend out there, and he said that symbol is actually the first symbol of the I Ching for creator. You know, so it's funny how these all, the more you research, these all tie together. You know, it's interesting.
It is, and everything weaves together. And like, so the star knowledge now it's what's coming online. And Lelie and I are working hard together to create space that we can gather and do this work, to continue this work. And I really wanted to acknowledge and validate what you just shared, because, you know, things are presenting themselves as possibly a change to some of the symbols. And so if you saw transformation, I think that's really noteworthy, because, you know, we're all in this together, and we're going to be figuring this out moving forward and what that looks like. And like, we were realizing that there's 16 directions that these symbols are working in. And so right now we're working with 2. There's, you know, this way and then this way. And so, you know, there's all those other spaces and aspects of these symbols that, you know, have an energy that we aren't sure yet what it is and what it can do. And so, yeah, I'm going to have a sign-up list at the back of the room if you're interested in just staying connected with us as we're navigating and figuring out how we can come together again, because there's a way that we can interpret and gain understanding of what these symbols are and their name and the messenger that comes with it and how to work with it. And we're busy creating that space in what might be where Lelie has land in Colorado. And it's really amazing there. But yeah, the work is going to continue. And if you have that feeling in your heart to be part of it, we really, really, really need you and want your assistance, just like Eagle, in the very beginning. There's one person cannot do this alone. And so that's why we're here, is to just share more and share what we know. So.
Well, and I have to laugh because Knowledge from the Stars was a message from the star people, and there's a starman that came in and I couldn't get his name. It's phonetic, but I was like, I'm sorry, I can't get your name. I don't want to mess it up. And he said, call me 11. And I just started laughing. Of course, call you 11. And he said, we want you to teach a class called Knowledge from the Stars. And he said, we want you to work with the first 7 sets of symbols. And the messages will come in as you start teaching. Well, the first symbol, starting with free will, has shifted. So I'm really excited because I don't know what we're going to unlock in the future. But yes, you're all part of it. There's no mistake that you're here, that all of the spirits of this land are the same as the spirits and the messengers of the book. I mean, we're all in this together, and we're all coming from a different perspective. And so when we create this collective consciousness, magic happens. So thank you all for being here.
Yeah, and so one more quick thing. So we activated this corn, as Lelie was talking about, during an 11/11 ceremony in Iowa. This was last year, and we placed the corn in the formation of the symbol of free will. So it's activated within these kernels. And we were all guided to take these kernels of corn and, take them home and drop them in the lake or put them in, under your front door rug or, wherever you're, like sacred sites, churches, like anywhere that needs healing on the land, we drop a kernel. And I have a friend that's doing this a lot. And it is absolutely amazing what is happening in his life right now. Like, he was gifted land, and like he's getting to open a healing center. And I mean, this was all just a big dream of his, and suddenly it's all just coming together and it's happening. Yeah! So you never know. Did you hear that? So he dropped one at the Georgia Guidestones. So I want to encourage you all. I've got some corn kernels here. I'll have them on the back table back there. Grab some, put them in your pocket, take them home, drop them where you feel called, and we'll just keep this energy moving. Yeah.
So just to clarify, that thing did say free will, freedom, as he was doing it at that angle, but then it turned and laid down. So actually, when you're putting it underground, it's actually laying and it turns into transformation. That was kind of the full message of it.
Awesome. Thank you. All right, let's give Lelie a big round of applause. Thank you.